Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome to our next session. We are here, we are back. We worked through a few things, and that's how we do it, right? Dispatch style. Technical difficulties, we work through it. Everything else, we work through it. That's how we do this. And I am super excited for our keynote speaker today, good friend Don Shumway, DDPQ. Is that what you have there?
Yeah, I do. Diet Dr. Pepper.
Damn right. That's what I'm talking about. And her session today is going to be called There's No Success Without Conflict. My friend, take it away.
Yay, I'm so excited. So first, I want to talk about a story that Tim mentioned in the comments. So I was at IPSTA and I was getting ready to speak there, and I had saved up money. I'd worked all this overtime to buy a new laptop that I could take to training to, just help. Anyways, and so I saved up, bought this laptop, and I was here at this conference. I was getting ready to teach. Matt Grogan. He had landed, and he was like, "Hey, do you want a soda?" I'm like, "What kind of question is that?" Of course I do. And he buys me a soda. There's only one kind of soda if you live in my life. It's the biggest soda. So he got himself a soda and me a soda. Anyways, and so these sodas were kind of by my brand new laptop. Anyways, what ended up happening, the table legs gave way. Both sodas were like magnetized to my laptop. And honestly, it was like 64 ounces of soda went into my keyboard right before I was supposed to present. So that was what Tim was presenting. Also, if you want to know, that keyboard or that laptop did die. It did not survive that soda. So anyways, but that's the only time soda was bad. Okay. All right. But I'm super, super excited about this session. There's no success without conflict. And a lot of people just imagine like, hey, once I'm successful, I'm going to reach this tier of just kind of like euphoria, or it's just going to be magical. I don't know, like maybe rainbows and unicorns, whatever that magical is, but it's definitely not. There's the path to success is riddled with conflict, and then even maintaining that, like there's conflict exists everywhere. There's conflict in our personal lives, in our work, with our internet, just different things. So the reason why I really, really love today's lesson is just because it's about being comfortable with conflict. Conflict doesn't have to be a four-letter word. Conflict doesn't have to be scary. Conflict, we can learn to be comfortable with it, and it really will help empower us. So one of the things is conflict is the number one reaction to conflict is avoidance. And so recognize that. Surrounding yourself with yes people may seem really easy and comfortable to do, but it's just going to be a detriment to us. We need to be able to have people in our lives that are giving us pieces to the puzzle of the story so that we can see the bigger picture versus just what we want to see. And so we don't want to have people, though, that are going to be roadblocks or hinder us from our progress or our goals or things that we want to achieve. But having those people who give us a different point of view is important. Abraham Lincoln was one of those people that I admire that had done that. He made sure that he filled people in his inner circle that wasn't just yes people that were going to agree and nod with him. It was going to be people who said, hey, I see things differently. And really, this whole session is going to be about dare to be great and challenge yourself to push your boundaries, your limits, and mentally prepare to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because there's no growth in the comfort zone. I know you guys have heard that before. And that kind of has like two positive annotations to it. So you have growth and comfortable. And so that's why I like this one. Like there's no success without conflict. It just kind of really just says, hey, we're going to face this head on. We're going to do it. That way you guys can chase your dreams no matter how far they seem out of reach, challenge your beliefs, your views, and be ready to boldly be confident and then be decisive when you need to be. And fun story at my work, sometimes I'll play this game when I need to be decisive on something with someone else. So you can have people who have a different point of view, but I'm the communications manager at the center that I work at here at Ada County, which is in Meridian, Idaho. We dispatch for Boise and all that stuff, if you guys don't know where Meridian is. But anyway, so it's one thing to have those views, but ultimately you're the one who was put in this position to maybe make decisions, whatever your position is. So I like to play this game. It's called rock, paper, scissors. But when we really play it, I go rock, paper, rank, So I win. But anyways, there's a side story. So ultimately, just be comfortable with your decision in the end, even if you have people giving you a different point of view. All right, so let's get started. So with this, I just kind of want to start you guys off with just something that I personally feel. So with one of my things is there's all hero stories are born out of conflict. So you it doesn't matter with fictional stories, real life stories. If you really take it apart and you ask someone like, "Hey, how did you achieve where you got today?" They'll tell you that. So, but hear me out before you're like, "I want to be a hero. I'm going to go start a fight on the floor." That's not what I'm talking about. So there's definitely a difference between bad conflict and good conflict, just like with everything else. So you know how there's good stress and bad stress, right? So good stress is something that helps give you that adrenaline to help you accomplish tasks that and give you that push that you needed to be really successful. So, if you get really busy in your call center and you guys really perform really well, or you guys sync up really together as a team, that's kind of a good stress. Bad stress would be something that takes years off your life. You know how when you're like, okay, I could have done without experiencing that life event, such as let's say you were laid off. That's not really a good stress. And if somebody's like, hey, looks like you learned a lot, you can throat punch them and my internet if you want. All right. So, and then like, let's look at food. So you have good fats, bad fats, right? So you have almonds, good fats, fruit cake, because we're hitting the holiday season. That's a bad fat. Also, fruit cake is trash. Feel free to come at me in the comments. Sorry, I hate fruit cake. I hope my secret Santa doesn't give me that. Okay. Anyways, so with conflict's the same. So we have good conflict and we have bad conflict. And really just saying, like, okay, so with that, when you hear the word conflict, don't think like, oh, negative, like, oh, what happened? Just be like, oh, hey, we had this conflict and we overcame it, we achieved it. So I have this book that I have on my current to read list, and it says this. So this is from Mark Manson. It's the subtle art of not giving an F word, a counterintuitive approach to living a good life. And he says this: without conflict, there can be no trust. Conflict exists to show us who is there for us unconditionally and who is there for the benefits. So, anyways, to read that book, Mark Manson, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. It's on Amazon. Oh, you love it? Did you? Oh, so I love. Look at that! I'm gonna read the book. Yay! It's on my read list, and hopefully, my Secret Santa buys it for me. Okay, so let's look at even just fictional stories. So this is from nownovel.com, and they say this: that conflict, such as a power struggle between a hero or a protagonist and villain or antagonist, is arguably the most important element in fiction, because without conflict, there is no movement and no narrative drive. A lack of conflict in stories is a common error among beginning writers. So it's kind of interesting, right? So you're like, okay, so if we can start to reshift the way that we view conflict, then we can say, okay, hey, you know what? This isn't so scary. How can I have conflict? So if even in fiction, conflict drives success, then that means that conflict can drive success in our own lives. So how do we have good conflict? Well, we understand that the right thing isn't measured by what other people think. Okay. It's also that our success isn't measured by popularity. It's easier to agree, sure. So, despite it's easier to agree. And I think, oh, what was that book? I don't know if you're being facetious and you want me to swear, but The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F word. It just is not giving a someone will type it in the comments. It's a counter. I'll type it. Let's see that. There you go. Yeah, Roxy. Thank you. Okay. All right. So we understand that. So anyway, so success isn't measured by what other people think or popularity or different things, and doing the right thing stays right and doing the wrong thing stays wrong, despite how many people are on one side or the other. So as we face that and we encounter that, we're like, okay. And while it may seem easier to agree for some things, like sure, we'll get those head nods and we'll get like, yeah, I feel the same way. But if on our insides, we're mentally contorting ourselves to twist and turn into a version that's not us and it's not authentically how we feel or who we are, just for the sake of agreeing. In my personal life, I have had this happen, so I kind of want to just showcase a quick story. For those who don't know me, I speak a few different classes. So if you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'll point in some direction of some of my classes. But I talked about one class of some adversity that I had to overcome, and with that, my dad. I lost my mom and my sister to domestic violence at the hands of my father. And the reason why that's important, for our story today is because of their headstone. Their headstone is significant because I was only 9 years old when I lost them. And let me show you. I'm going to pull up this picture. If maybe I'll pull it up. Let's see if it does it. All right. Okay, you guys should be able to see this. Sorry, it's kind of small. But you'll see on the bottom picture, that's my mom and sister's headstone, and it says daughter and mother, and it has their names. And then on the back, you'll notice that it has my dad's name, and it says husband Fred. And then it lists our names as children. The top right picture, I've put tape over it, just to stop it from being, um, I don't want to see it. So, anyways. Okay. So hopefully, did you guys all were you able to see that? If you weren't, I can drop the picture later in the thing. But basically, so the reason why the headstone is important is because basically people didn't want to have conflict. They didn't want to rock the boat, which is so weird. So they have my father, and they nobody wanted to not put his name, this person who murdered and raped people, on the back of the very people that he did that to. So here's my dad's name on the back of this of my family's headstone. How wild, right? But it was because of conflict. Because nobody wanted. Everybody was like, we better be nice, or I don't want to cause problems. Man, like I just okay, I'll just this is best, right? Let's just put his name on it. We'll just keep the peace. It's just better this way. And so, through a combination of a lot of things, whether it's religion, whether it was family dynamics, I mean, because this is, to me, like this is both sides of my family, right? Like my dad, my mom, and both their sides of the family. And with all that, thank you, Ruth and stuff. It was sad. It's sad that I didn't have somebody who was that advocate, someone willing to face that conflict. And I'm not saying it's easy. I have some aunts I love dearly, and other family members, and they lost a lot too. And it was hard to have conflict and fight in this moment when they were grieving a lot. Okay, but that's how important being willing to have conflict is. It's that important. Like I wish that. But anyways, fun side story. Rapid SOS is being a sponsor to help me get that removed. So like fun fact, because I've been contemplating like what's the best thing. Like how do I chisel it? Like do I go at the night? Like hammer it off, like, I don't know, but I was able to get connected with a headstone repair person, that does this, and they're gonna take care of it for me. So, yeah, that's really cool. They're gonna chisel his name and turn it into clouds, like, "Let's turn it into clouds." What's the the painter. Can't even think of his name right now. But yes. So happy little accidents, right? Yeah, Bob Ross, happy little accidents. Okay. All right. So in the beginning, like as we're trying to navigate conflict, and if we shy away from it and we're like, you know what, I'm just going to agree, I'm just going to go along with this, it will feel good in the moment. It will feel like, oh, okay, yeah, this is nice. Everybody's getting along. Okay. And you may have that feeling of like you may have some good positive uh, emotions, you know, other things going on, but it's not going to last. All this is short term because anything that you delay handling is just going to turn into a problem that you're going to have to face later, or you're just going to be living that version that's not you, or something, that you're going to realize like, hey, I didn't even try for this. So when we're getting those head nods, those verbal feedbacks, the me too, I feel the same, all that depth isn't real, and that's a band-aid solution. So, and depending on the problem, prolonging and facing that conflict could be deadly. I mean, are we putting band aids on bleeding arteries? We have to really ask ourselves that. So, are we putting our heads in the sand and acting like we took action? I really liked when Joe yesterday talked about how don't confuse action with progress. And it really ties into this because you can't just be like, oh, well, hey, well, at least we got along, or hey, this. It's like, hey, we're really achieving something, so just make sure that you're not putting band-aids on those bleeding arteries. So we also need to make sure that so with one of the first things that we can do is just making conflict easier to have, linking that conflict isn't that bad four-letter word, and acknowledging, hey, your first instinct will probably be avoidance. And so recognize that. And so that means we have to train to it. We have to train to it. We have to train to be comfortable to it. So in gymnastics, they learn to fall just as much as they learn to land. If not, like, and they'll tell you, they're like, it's just as important to learn how to fall, if not more. And so if we can kind of have that mind shift and that thinking, like, okay, hey, this is how important this is. And we can do hard things, you guys. We save people on the phone. We impact people's lives every day. We eventually figure out where we're going to order food from. All those hard decisions we handle food or we handle every day, multiple times, right? Yesterday, Joe also talked about how someone who wanted to learn how to play a musical instrument and how playing it for Saturday for 3 hours is not as impactful as doing it every day for 15 minutes. And the same is true with conflict. Imagine having this big, really hard one time 3 hour conflict like talk versus like handling these smaller increments and smaller things on the daily. And so here are some words and stuff that you can say. So for those who follow me as well, I have this class that I love, love, love teaching. It's one of my most popular classes, which is say this, not that. And just also just these word swaps that you can use. So if you guys don't follow Jefferson Fisher on Instagram, I really recommend him. He does a good job of just shifting some things that we can say. So if you're having conflict with someone at work, instead of saying, I don't agree, which can sound sharp, there's some different phrases where you can still achieve the same thing and you're handling that conflict, not avoiding it, but in a better way. So you could say things like, I see things differently. I take another approach, or I tend to lean the opposite way. And with that last one, I be cautious when you use it because when you say I tend, that has a softener attached to it. So when we use words like, oh, hey, I just, or if I can, or may I, all those are softener words. So just be careful when you use those. And so in that scenario, I tend to lean to the opposite. That's a softener. Still a good phrase if it's applicable, but just keep that in mind. And then also, hey, do we have to agree on this? Just ask that question. Be bold about it. And then if you don't, that way you're not going to get sucked in these time loss situations where you keep going in circles with someone when you really are both going to be staying on this opposite sides. When someone, let's say you have a conflict with someone and they start belittling you, what can you do? So maybe you have someone who's bullying you, someone who said something rude. One of the things, again, from Jefferson Fisher that you can do is just repeat back what they said to you, but slowly. So if someone says, like, I can't believe you said that, like, that was so dumb. You can't believe I said that. It was so dumb. And you say it kind of with in a calm tone with a pondering view, and it just kind of just focalizes on what they said instead of getting stuck in like it wasn't dumb and just getting engaged. Don't take the bait. So it's not only gonna make you look more like in control, you literally will be in more control of the situation. Another thing to do is to ask, hey, did you intend to hurt me or embarrass me? Just ask them. I think sometimes making that the vocal point, you're really highlighting their behavior. And so I really recommend it. One of the other things that I like is using yes ands instead of yes buts. So here's an example. If someone says, not everyone's going to like your class. Yes. And I'll have the opportunity to learn from their reviews while being able to inspire the others who are there. Win win. And that will sound better instead of saying, yes, but some people will. Not that that's a bad thing to say. It's just the other one really empowers you. You're handling that conflict, you're facing it, you're not avoiding it, and it sets you up for better success. So you try to use yes ands instead of yes buts. And then Cole Jennett on Instagram is someone else who's nice to follow. And he says to drop the why when you speak. So for me, I'm team Android, not iPhone. So if I was supposed to be like, why do you like iPhones? You can see how it comes across as maybe not so, maybe it has that abruptness to it. But if I say, hey, how are you liking your iPhone? Then, yeah, I know, sorry for the team iPhones. I'm just iPhone illiterate, honestly. Someone's changed it so every time I plug in my iPhone, it's not inappropriate, but it says something, and I still haven't fixed it. So bad. Anyways, so oh, Team Android, Hank has left the chat. Yes. Yes, Team Android. Thank you, Mark. Yes. All right. So anyway, so another way that you can drop the why. So instead of saying, why did you send that email? So you can see how that kind of is, it's doesn't have that good conflict to it. But say, hey, can you tell me more about your email you sent me? Anytime we can remain from an angle that's curious, it helps them be less defensive. And honestly, we get better responses if you want the honest answer from that. You're going to get better answers, and it sets you both up for having that better conversation and those better work relationships that can contain that conflict. Also, so recognize the difference between being a noisy fly and the squeaky wheel that gets the oil, right? So a noisy fly is annoying and it doesn't have purpose and it's not solving stuff. But a squeaky wheel that gets oil is saying, hey, you know, let's address this. So just make sure that you have that self perspective that you can see, like, hey, what I'm bringing to the table is actually really good. I'm not being annoying. This is something that does need attention or time or other things. And one of the good measures for that is how do you receive feedback? I'm shocked when it's America's Idol or America's Got Talent, and there's someone who comes on the stage who is truly awful. And not from my view, like the whole state, the whole audience at home or live is all booing them. And I'm thinking, like, how did no one tell them that they are this bad and that this isn't their dream and they should pursue something else? And I honestly related to they're probably really bad at receiving feedback. And so if you're that type of person where people aren't giving you honest feedback, if everyone's telling you that your crap doesn't stink, then you should probably change some of your inner circle or listen to how you're receiving feedback. Because I know there's some people at my work that for their goals, I know that they need to work on receiving that feedback because there's a lot of people who won't tell them directly. They come to me and they're like, oh my gosh. And they're like, yada, yada, yada. I can't tell them because they won't listen. And that's how the story goes. And I know that those who are in positions of leadership, you probably get some of that same conversations happening behind closed doors because they say they're not comfortable with going with that person. Roxy, I told you I was going to share one of your quotes. I really like it. So her class yesterday, really great. She said, clear is kind. And that's so true. Clear is kind. Give that feedback. Clear is kind. At one of my agencies I worked at before, funny story, I was in charge of, we had a little bit of dispatch funds and it would supplement some condiments that we had in our refrigerator, such as ketchup. And I was apparently buying crappy ketchup. I didn't realize, I thought ketchup was ketchup. Apparently it's Heinz. Heinz or nothing. Heinz or go home. And so anyway, so one person finally approached me and they were like, hey, can you stop buying this ketchup? It's gross. And we only want Heinz. And so I was like, okay. I'm like, does everyone feel that way? I put out a survey. Guess what? Survey said 100% of people hated the ketchup I bought, and only one times. I wish someone would have told me sooner. And so for me, I'm like, what? And so remember, feed that clear is kind. And so with Roxy, she there was a little Brene Brown gem. So there you have it. But I really liked it from her class yesterday. So when we're having these conversations at work, so don't let, if emotions are too involved, if emotions are ruling the conversation, or if emotions are ruling the presentation, meeting, whatever it is, then conversation's not going to happen. And I talk about that in my Say This Not That class. So you're going to have to say, hey, you know what? I would like to have a successful conversation with this, but our emotions are too high. Let's table this and let's come back to this when we can communicate better about it. So don't push it if it's not going to work. However, you can have emotions and feelings and passionate within the meeting, sure, or conversation. That's okay. I'll give you an example of something that we had here at my agency. One of our partner agencies that we work for, one of our fire agencies, we were talking and discussing what are some future things that we can do to help there quicker to our patients. And in the conversations, one of the battalion chiefs had said, whoa, like here in the real world, we can't do that. And, and which would kind of be a sharp statement. So I want you guys, so for me, you earned a seat at that table. Have that seat. Don't shy away from that. Be like, oh man, hey, it's getting kind of this because he just said that. Like, no, it's okay. So the way that I responded to that was, hey, at my agency in Utah, the real world, we achieved this and this is how we did it. And then summarize your success and tell them you're happy to expand. So when I added the real world, so I added that statement that he said, so I'm addressing it, but I also didn't do it in a conflict way. And we continued our meeting, which was really great. If you guys want, I need I do have like a homework piece for you guys. Watch Grace Hopper, the Queen of Code. So Grace Hopper, the Queen of Code. I'm gonna post the link. Let's see if I can do it. And then I'll post it in the Q&A so it can be recorded later. Okay, so this is Grace Hopper, Queen of Code. She was really great. She didn't shy away from conflict, and it was really cool, all the things. So it's a cool story of that. Anyways, so with that, but I know my time is running out late. I could talk forever, so 30 minutes was the hardest for this. Make sure you add the community. Okay, I'll make sure I add it there too. When you guys have a seat at the table, just remember like you earned it. And it was the version of you that earned it, not a muted version, not a lesser version, not a version that agrees with everybody. You had a seat at the table because people wanted to have your opinions, your views, your voice. So just make sure that you share it and that and be you, be the authentic self of yourself. Anyways, I'll leave you with a couple things to read. So you have your one book. Just a kid. I really like this kid book, and it's You Are Special, A Story for Everyone, and it's by Max Lucado. It has religion in it. However, it's really written for everyone. And it's especially in the social media world where everything is measured in likes or dislikes or popularity. It's a story about a person who went through conflict of just kind of letting those things go and just remembering that they're special just because of who they are. So, and it's really hard. Yes, it is hard to remember, Rebecca. But so I really like that one. It's a great one to read for your kids. So it's story for everyone. And so whatever your views are in religion, it's just a great story overall. So You Are Special by Max Lucado, and I'll spell his name because it's. There you go. So I put it in the comments there, and I'll add the other stuff to where we need as well. But anyways, guys, I could really talk forever, but that's my time. So embrace being uncomfortable. Use positive visualization. If you get up to the plate and you're like, oh no, I hope I don't strike out. I hope I don't strike out. Then you're going to strike out. But if you get up to the plate and you're like, hey, I'm going to hit the ball. I'm going to hit it there. That's what positive visualization is. It's you seeing yourself having that success. So when you have that conflict conversation that you're kind of dreading, go into it with that positive visualization and you'll be better set up for success. So I hope you like that. Let's see if you guys have any questions for me. Reach out to me on LinkedIn or social media if you have questions. Also, my agency is hiring. I'm supposed to add that a co-manager. So if you're like, hey, I can listen to Dom talk fast. Yes, I like soda. I want to live in Idaho. Then come apply. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, well
Yay.
done. That was awesome. Excellent as always. And like I mentioned in the comments, I'll make sure to add that stuff to the community as well.
Okay.
And as I
Yes.
mentioned before, I'm going to be doing community events and also, with that, uh, talking, sharing education, all that good stuff. So, Dawn, with
Yes.
everything that you were talking about, we will need to do a session over there on the community for everybody as well.
Yeah, we do. And Chelsea, I know you asked for like, hey, where you can find my personal story. I'll send you some stuff. I'll send you some so that you can find it.
Boom. There you go.
Bam.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Ah, you always do super good. I love it. And again, if you haven't done so, there's a button underneath what you're seeing here, and it says join the WTM community. Make sure to join. It's for free. And there we're having, focused conversations on public safety, 911, but also other types of conversations, whether it be health and wellness, some inspirational quotes, resources, or just anything for us to be able to share with. And then I'm going to start doing those community events and everything. Also, the After the Greatness broadcasts are going to be held over on the community for tonight through the rest of the conference, and there'll be a lot of other stuff going on there as well. So make sure to jump into that and connect with Dawn on there and all the other speakers as well as myself. And we are going to be heading to the next session, and that is going to be with Cindy Sparrow, and she is doing a session called Brave Conversations,
There you
Navigate
go.
Conflict
Which
with
is
Confidence.
yeah, it's perfect. She's really great. So you guys haven't heard her. She's gonna dive into all that stuff. Where it's like, okay, now I have the setup. It's perfect segue for her.
Boom.
Yep.
Yeah. Super good. We'll see you all in the next one.